away from network marketing into affiliate marketing, online coaching, just something I'm a little bit more passionate about. And one of the biggest things that I use to really create credibility is with Facebook, because to be completely honest with you, when I first started out with network marketing, I was really shy. Like I really, my upline told me to do all of these things, like go and talk to, go and prospect people, talk to strangers, and I did try those things, and that was really going out of my comfort zone, but I just didn't enjoy it. Hands up who's done something that you just haven't enjoyed. Exactly, it's just not, even if I was successful doing that, that was not a path that I wanted to do. So I decided to pursue options online. I wanted to build a business, I wanted to make money. My background is local government, so if anyone knows what it's like working in local government, you know it's there's a lot of restructures and stuff, and it's sort of high pressure, low pay a lot of the time. So I basically wanted to be a bit more independent. I was probably about 19, 20 years old at the time when I was sort of being moved around job to job, and it's just a little bit frustrating because I knew what I was worth. I knew I was worth more than £6.50 an hour or whatever I was being paid. It wasn't very much. So I knew deep down that I had to go and seek out a solution. So I went to the internet. I was just looking around for ways to build my business, and I was thinking, okay, so I don't have a massive budget. What can I do for free that I can just do, on my own basis, but something that I could do with a relatively low budget? And the main option was Facebook. Reason for that is it's basically like networking on steroids. Okay, so what I mean by that is that you can connect with a lot of people at the same time. So typically what I do on Facebook is I use Facebook chat a lot. So I chat to maybe 4 or 5 people at the same time. So that seems like the easiest thing for me, because typically, I can't drive, so it's like imagine getting to networking events all the time, bit of a pain. So for me, using Facebook is just the easiest thing. The other cool thing with Facebook is I feel it's a lot more powerful than a business card. I think business cards are great. I know there's probably people here with business cards, so I'm not shooting you down if you have it. But what I would say is Facebook is the new business card. Okay. The reason why I say that is when you hover over someone's name on Facebook, then you might notice a little pop-up appears. If you're using Facebook on a PC, and that's like the business card, because you've got their picture, you've got what they do for a living, you've got where they live. And the other cool thing with Facebook is if you haven't spoken to this person for like a year, 2 years, 5 years, you're still connected with them. All you have to do is just look on their profile, and you can actually see what they're up to. You can't do that with a business card. So that's been really powerful for me, just using Facebook to really connect with people. Now, I don't go onto Facebook and send people messages about my business and how great it is and how we've been around for 400 years. And that's not something that I do. I lead with value in branding myself. So the one thing I would say is if you're doing network marketing, I typically don't post about my company. Okay. The reason why I say that is because it's very easy for someone to just go and Google the company name and then Google top earners, and they're just going to go and work with someone else. You want to keep your company name a secret, or I would recommend having a team name, either that or just brand new. Create your own logo. It's really easy. If you don't know any graphics designers, then just go to Fiverr.com and you can get a relatively decent logo. You can go out and get branding now a lot cheaper than you used to. It's not going to be the best quality because it's like you're paying basically £3, £4 or whatever Fiverr costs to create a logo or create a branding. And you want to pay for a bit more quality in the long term. So going back to Facebook and how I actually use it, the important thing which Leon talked about is your target market. So when I first started, as I said, I was doing network marketing, and I decided that instead of my target market being people who didn't have jobs or didn't have the income, or I decided that instead of I want to explain this with analogies. It might be a little bit easier. So now I've never sold a house before, but would you agree that it's easier to sell a house to someone who's bought 10 houses before, or is it easier to sell a house to someone who's never bought a house in their life? It's not something you have to answer, but just think about that. And I really thought, okay, so who is my target market? And that made it a lot easier to actually attract people. Okay, so when I was able to distinguish my target market, I chose people who were already buying or have bought in the past things that I'm selling. You know, in this instance, it was a business opportunity. Okay, and I led with value and I provided solutions to their pain. Okay, so I'm using network marketing as an example. I'm mindful that obviously not everyone in the room is in network marketing, but you know, you can use this for anything. So, you know, I found out, okay, so, you know, what do network marketers struggle with? I read a book called Magnetic Sponsoring by Mike Dillard. I would definitely, if you write that down and purchase it on Amazon, it's one of the best books I've read about attracting the right people and also getting people to come to you. Hands up who's heard of attraction marketing? Yes, so Mike Dillard is the guy who founded that. Pretty cool, it's like an 8-figure earner. And so when I read that book, it's like everything changed me. And he helped me to understand the pains that network marketers were going through. It's two main things. Okay, so it's lack of leads, so they get lack of inquiries, and it's lack of cash flow. So business owners typically, in the space of about 90 days, they actually quit their business because they have no choice. They can't actually run their business because they go bankrupt. So what I decided to do was create content on Facebook that solved those problems. Okay, if you don't have a blog yet, then you can use Facebook. It doesn't matter what platform you use. Facebook's a great way to begin with that. It's really easy with Facebook. You can edit your profile, you can add and customize it exactly how you want, so you can really attract the right people. Okay, so again, Magnetic Sponsoring is the best book I pretty much ever read on, you know, attracting, you know, thinking about what your target market wants. Okay, the problem with attracting the wrong people is that you're not speaking to the listening. Okay, you want to be speaking to the listening. So really have a think about your target market. Think about, you know, go a bit deeper. So think about how old would they be. So what I want you guys to do is just actually draw out this ideal person that you're seeking. Okay, so is it a man or is it a woman? Are they a family person? Are they single? Are they divorced? Are they a family person? Are they single? Are they divorced? You know, what kind of stage is this person at in their life? And how does your product or service really fit into, you know, what it is that you're selling? So whether that's network marketing, whether that's something else, if you don't have the target market right, then you can do all the other stuff right, you know, websites, videos, but if you're not talking to the right people, it's like selling steak to a vegetarian. Okay, it's just not good. So, you know, moving on to other things I've done with Facebook. More recently, I've used Facebook groups. Okay, Facebook groups are really powerful ways to get groups of people together and, you know, really kind of control. I don't like to use the word control, but that is kind of what you're doing. You're getting them together and you're able to sort of capture that audience. Okay, so, you know, you can do a lot on Facebook for free by, you know, so one thing I'd recommend is talk to a minimum of 25 people a day. Okay, so what that's really going to do is it's going to really build that momentum. Now, we're not going in there trying to pitch people. We're literally going in there saying, "Hi, John," or whatever their name is. "How's it going? How's your day so far?" You know, it's extremely casual. Okay, so it's imagine if you're at a networking event and you're just going up to someone. I treat it exactly the same on Facebook. I just go up to people and I just think in my head, okay, so how would I act in real life? You know, I wouldn't immediately send them some spiel on what my business is. People aren't really interested in facts and figures, right? They're interested in you as a person. And so that's something I really thought about is how would I want to be approached? You know, how would I want to be talked to? Okay, so that's something I really had to get down to a T. Now, so what I managed to do with Facebook is build an audience of over 1,000 followers completely for free. And I'll be honest with you guys, you know, it really does take some hustle if you're doing free marketing. So that's, you know, Facebook, YouTube, whatever the case is, because you have to take time to create the content. Okay, but what that will allow you to do is if you're at a low budget, then something like Facebook is absolutely ideal. Okay, so, because what that's going to do is going to allow you to create a budget and you can use some of the strategies to do Facebook ads like Leon described. Okay, so you can free up your time a little bit. time is way more valuable than money. So that's something to really understand and consider. So what are some of the things that you can post on Facebook? What kind of content can you do? It really depends on what you feel most comfortable doing. So for me, I'm fairly natural at doing video. I was pretty good in drama at school. So for me, just doing a video was just natural. But for some of you guys, that might not be your thing. So you might be good at writing. So maybe you should do articles. There is a cool thing you can do when you start writing a long status post. Facebook says, do you want to make this into a note? And what that does is you can add pictures, you can add links to it, so you can make it look really professional, almost like a blog post. So it's just amazing what you can do with a platform like that. Okay, now some tips I want to give about how to create interaction is, why don't you tag some people who would be interested in the post that you're creating? Because what that is going to do is one of their friends will see that that person has been tagged and it will appear in their timeline. Okay, so you start to create kind of a buzz around your content. The other thing you can do, if someone comments, or before that, if you ask people to comment at the end of your post, people will actually comment because they'll see it and they'll just do it. So that's a great thing. And if someone does comment, then I usually reply, and it like doubles the amount of comments just because I reply and I interact with this person. Okay, now I don't just leave it there. I message that person afterwards and I say, hey John, I really appreciate the comment. How's it going? How's your day so far? When you get people on your content, content really changes everything, guys. So you're not just messaging people cold if you have content. Content builds rapport, okay? I'll repeat that, it's really important. Content builds that rapport, and you can actually build rapport without having to, if you have that content, it automates it. Okay, so if you have videos, if you have email series, any type of content, it doesn't really matter what kind, it's going to automate your life essentially. And so Facebook's a great example of that. Now, going back to Facebook groups and how that works, all you need to do is just create a Facebook group and just post a ton of value in it. Just absolutely over-deliver. And once you do that, once you give enough value, what happened to me, I think it was yesterday, I had 4 or 5 people reach out to me saying, Seb, oh my gosh, I'm in your group, what do you do? I have to know what you do and what you're working on. And so you can really create a lot of leverage that way, and you get other people adding people into this group. So an example of that is I did a 5-day social media challenge, and each day I gave some really in-depth training, and at the end of it, I gave people a task. I think a few of you guys over there were in the group. So, one task was, okay, this is social media tips, blah, 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 and at the end of it, they were asked to post something in the group, and that created a hell of a buzz. I had like 20 people posting in this Facebook group. People were tagging each other, adding people into it, and so it created a lot of credibility for me, because I'm known as the guy who gives a ton of value and isn't out there trying to pitch everything that I'm doing. And so that's how you get people messaging you. Okay, those are the principles of attraction marketing and how to get people, how to create that buzz on Facebook is, just to close off with this, you have to really dominate, be everywhere as much as you can. With Facebook, you can quite easily do it off your smartphone. It's so easy to be able to do it. But I'll be honest with you guys, it really just takes some hustle. There have been nights where I've gone to bed at like 5 a.m., woken up 8 a.m., and then just carrying them back on Facebook. That's the way it goes. So if you're doing Facebook, remember it requires some hustle, it requires building real relationships, and as Leon and the other people, as Phil said, understanding their needs, establishing a need, and then just offering what you have. Thank you.